Hello, this is Jamie Magritte. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'm going to show you how I made this card. Let's get started. Some of the products in it are either retired or are not Stampin' Up, but I'm going to go ahead and show you anyway. I'm going to use Memento ink. That's the only ink I'm using. I have a 1 1/4 inch circle punch. You can use any circle die or whatever, but that's the easiest for me. I'm going to be using the in-country stamp set from Celebration, this stamp here, and lighting the way dies. I'm using this die here, and this die is old. I know there's a grass die in something. I didn't look it up though. You can use any grass die. I just am using this one because that's the one I have. Okay. And then for my sentiment, it's a scripture, I am with you always, Matthew 28:20. And that's obviously not Stampin' Up, but that's what I chose to use. So I'm showing you what I made. Okay, for cardstock, I have my card base. It's thick white, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored and folded at 4 1/4. I have a piece of black. Out of the center of that, I have die cut out the lantern because it won't show. It's going to be covered up. And this is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And that's because I just wanted a tiniest little border. Okay, so that'll give me a little border there. Then my next layer is white, and this is 5 1/4 by 4. And this one we will stamp our sentiment on. And then I have a layer of crumb cake, which is 2 1/2 by 5 1/4. This is the piece that I die cut the grass out of. And this is 1 1/2 by 4 1/4. At least this one happens to be like almost 5, but I'll show you. I just cut it once close to the edge because this is not 5 1/2 inches, it's 4 1/4. And then when you take it out, you have this negative, so I'm going to use both pieces to complete my 5 1/2 inches. Okay, and I'll probably trim off the bottom. Okay, I have a piece of saffron. This is 1 1/2 inches or 1 1/4 inches. A 1 1/2 would probably work better, but it doesn't matter if it cuts it off just a tiny bit, so because we'll hide it. Okay, and then I have a 1/2 inch by 5 1/2 inch strip of black as well. So let's get started here. Let's do our stamping first. Bring in the Memento ink. Ink this stamp up, and this is quite large, so I'm going to ink it this way just so I can see what I'm doing. And the Memento pad is linen, it's not foam, so you need to give it a little bit more pressure sometimes, or just to get it inked well. Oop, I got ink on me. Okay, and I'm going to stamp that on this crumb cake layer, and I want it over this way. I want to leave a space for the lantern. Let's ink this one more time since I'm talking. Make sure it's good and inked. Okay, so I'm going to lay that down, centered top to bottom, but over towards the right, or left side, excuse me. You could put the lantern on the other side, that would be fine too, but I liked it towards the path. Okay, make sure I've got pressure on it everywhere. Perfect. All right, I'm going to bring in this layer here, and I know this is going to go about here, And that other black strip will go above it, like here. So in order to just do the sentiment, I want to make sure I have a pretty good idea where it's going to go. Let's go ahead and ink that up. Stamp that up here on this side as well. Perfect. All right, we're done with our stamping. All right, let's bring this punch in here so we can get that off our desk too. We're going to punch out a circle. And you'll see it's just a little bit shy on the edge. That's all right. Get it in there as best you can. You'll see it's a little bit flat on the two sides. That'll be fine because it'll go up underneath the lantern. Okay. All right. So now, let's go ahead and start assembling. I'm going to go ahead and mount this onto this layer. Bring in some glue. Hopefully it works because I haven't used it yet today. Well, bring in my pin. And it only clogs up like that because I leave it open sitting on my desk. Go ahead and layer this. There's a tiny, tiny little layer. Okay, turn it over. Give it a good press so that I'm pushing that glue so it's not in a line. Very nice. Oh, I thought I smudged it. It was just a cat hair. All right, now we're going to bring this piece in. We're going to adhere this on the back of that. So let's set this aside for a minute. And the top edge, I'm just going to put a little bit of bead of glue there. I'm going to pick this up with it. And I kind of like to do it in a little bit of an angle. However much you want showing there. You can do a narrower one. I kind of liked it wide this time. I want it to be make sure it's straight, as straight as I can get it. Okay, now I'm going to bring in my snips. I'm going to trim off this part that's hanging over. Okay, now let's bring in our grass. Okay, I want it to go along the bottom here. So I'm going to go ahead and this piece that came out, I'm going to go ahead and adhere that first. Okay, then I'm going to bring this piece in and I'm going to snip off. I'm going to snip a little bit more because this is quite long here. I want to go to this one that's a little bit shorter. But I want it to be straight up and down. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and butt that up against that one, making sure that bottom edge is the same, although it doesn't matter because we can cut it off, which is what I think I'm going to do. It doesn't matter if it overlaps a little bit there or if it isn't quite accurate there because we're going to cover it up with the lantern. But I kind of would like it straight, so all right, now let's trim this off, this extra. And I think I want this to be shorter, so I'm going to bring in my trimmer. turn this over. I want to cut it right pretty close to the bottom of that where it is. I'll leave just a hair of it. Trim that off. Perfect. There we go. Okay. So now we can adhere this to the front of our card. And I want just like a 1/16 of an inch at the bottom there. Okay, make sure there's no white on the edge showing. Okay, I'm going to bring in that lantern and the piece of saffron. I'm going to put just a dab of glue here and here. Pick up that bulb, and it's going to not quite fit 100%. Hangs out the top a little bit. That's all right. I'm going to push it down just a little bit so that less of it sticks out. See? So it's almost to the, just past the bottom of that second crease there. Okay, and we'll turn it over and we'll put some dimensionals on the back of it. Excuse me. For some reason the backing is coming off with it too. I'll go ahead and take those backings off. I'm going to place that here. It's just a tiny bit above the bottom of the, you could do it below, but I want it just a little bit above the here. Go ahead and set it down. Adhere that to the front of my card. And that's going to have a little 1/16 of an inch border. Okay, then I'm going to finish it off with a bow that I made with the black baker's twine, and I made a double bow and a glue dot. So I'm going to just take the glue dot, I'm going to kind of roll it up into a log, put that on there, put my bow on top of it. There you go. There's the card we just made together. And here's the one I did previously. Well, thank you so much for joining me today at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you can find a little bit of time to play with some stamps, ink, and paper.